What's going on, everybody? BobbyFi back with my man Sheets. We are going to be doing a Fanduel lineup build today, and it should be interesting. I think there's a lot of a lot of ways to go, and it's pretty easy to do what you want. So it's also very hard not like my first build was to really chalky, and then I realized there's a lot of pivots you could actually make here. So we'll get into them. Sheets, what are your first thoughts about this Fanduel?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing some of your pivots because I found some, but I guess I'm not too greedy. You know what I mean? I was going to say I found some, but not too many. But as we discussed a lot, you don't need all that many. So it is going to be interesting. I think that some things you could find correlation with, and some things you could just find just kind of lower own prayers with or whatever. But one thing about FanDuel is there's someone that's going to be impossible for me to fade, and someone that's going to be, I guess, harder for me to. I shouldn't say harder. A little harder for me to fade on FanDuel than DraftKings. That being that'll be at the center position. We talk about Thomas Bryant, but a power forward. I mean, I find it difficult to not play Serge Ibaka in every lineup. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get into it. Let's go position by position. Because at point guard, the guys who stand out to me are the popular guys for the most part. I like Trae Young and I like Ben Simmons. Those are the obvious plays. I think Kemba Walker will be the next highest owned in my opinion. And I think Fox will get some ownership, but I don't think it's as high as these early projections have him. One guy, like what I would do over here as a pivot is play one of Garland, Morris, or somebody like that at 4.3 or 4.4. And I also like Rozier at 6.8, although I think he will have a little bit of ownership as well. And then I like Lowry at 7.4. So if I'm ranking them, just my favorite, just actual plays, like for any lineup, would still be Simmons and Trae Young. But I do like the pivot down to one of the cheap guys for a different lineup build. And what you can get Morris and Garland at like no ownership. And even if they just put up like 24, 25, there's a chance for you to differentiate and pay up elsewhere. And we'll get into it. It's probably going to be the center position actually. But anyway, that's just sort of what I'm thinking is mostly I'm sort of rolling with the chalky guys because I really like both of them. And the truth is, if you don't play Simmons here, let's say, you could then play one of these cheap guys that you could then just you could actually build a lineup like this. You could build a lineup where you have Simmons and what's his name at the center position, Bryant, and then you could just completely just do one little pivot and switch Embiid for either Monty Morris or Darius Garland, and that's an interesting immediate way to get different, and that would be a tournament pivot off of what's going to be the chalk.
Yeah, I like exactly the first four guys you mentioned, Simmons, Young, Fox, and Walker. I actually like them exactly in that order, Simmons, Young, Fox, and Walker. And then it's so funny, the next guy that I was going to bring up was going to be Monty Morris. So I mean, I've kind of started doing a similar type of thing, which is kind of the opposite. Instead of going Simmons with like a Monty Morris, I actually went a little. I tried a Trae Young and faded Simmons with Monty Morris to get even a little more different. I think because I think Simmons is going to be clearly the chalk. I think on FanDuel, and then if I do play a Simmons lineup, then I could go be different a little elsewhere. But as far as the actual plays, I think that you hit the nail right on the head with the top five, the top four being Simmons, Young, Fox, and Walker. And then Morris, I think, is the natural first guy you should pay down to. If you want, you can talk a little more about the other guys, like because I didn't really get to Kyle Lowry on FanDuel, but you really talked me into him on DraftKings, so I can't see why I wouldn't be equally or at least similarly appeal to him on FanDuel. I think that's a good call. And the Cleveland guys, I really didn't think of at all. The Garlands and the Sextons. I guess have the same reason I didn't really think of Lowry. I guess that game just didn't really appeal to me so much. So, which is why I was kind of just drawn away from them. But those guys are going to be the real low-owned guys.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, but Rozier will be the medium low-owned guy.
Okay.
That I think is a good. I mean, like it's a good price for him. again, I don't mind playing him with Devontae Graham in this because Devontae Graham is also really cheap over here, just like Rozier is. So it's an interesting conversation, which we'll get into at the next position. Are you done with point guard?
Yeah, and you'll see that there's enough plays at each position where you could, in a small enough game size, the 6 games, where you could find some really good correlations of these plays. So you could
I feel like it's kind of slate Darius Garland's going to win somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like an example, like I said, like I wasn't too drawn to the Toronto side either. So if that's the case, then you could just go ahead and just go for, I want to say full Toronto Cleveland, but there are good plays from both sides of that game that you could certainly get different with pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I would lean like yeah, I get it. I think I'm mostly gonna play one of Trey or Simmons with those guys.
At shooting guard, I think the two. I presume they're going to be chalky. I think the two guys at the top of the value chain, just raw points included, stand out here being Beal and Graham, and it certainly helps also that they're in the freaking same game. So it's a really, really solid combination, both from just a value perspective and a GPP perspective because of the run back. And for that reason, I find it difficult to believe they won't be extremely popular. But nonetheless, it does look pretty sweet to have the two of those guys in those positions playing against each other. The next group down is, you could pay down a little bit for Kevin Huerter. And then what you could do is stuff we've talked about before on DraftKings that you brought up, is maybe do something like a lower-owned Fred VanVleet. He's going to be he's better here than on DraftKings for sure. So probably will get some ownership over here. But VanVleet would be the next guy I would go to. And then another guy, if I'm a glutton for punishment, I don't know how many times in a row this guy can bust me. But if I want to go off the board, I could close my eyes and play Lou Williams maybe at 5,600. So that would be the I guess the stupid play I would make. And that's really all I have from the position.
I don't think that Lou Williams is a bad idea.
Okay.
I think that
I forgot Bogdan. Sorry, I'll let you deal with that.
Yeah, Bogdan is the one I was going to – yeah. I like the obviously, again, it's a weird spot because the guys I do prefer are the top guys, which are Graham and Beal. But I also like Huerter, sorry, I always say Huerter. Bogdanovich, who else am I? Oh, D'Angelo Russell, is probably just a even better play over here because he's gonna have the same ownership and he's even cheaper. And I don't know. I think that you could, if you wanted to play Kemba at point guard, you play Russell on the other side, you're actually going to get a lower owned than you think you would, over here. He'd be the guy I would lean down towards. I never mind taking shots on Buddy Hield, but I really don't like this matchup on the back-to-back too. But I think so. So it's probably going to be. I'm probably not playing anybody that's below 10% owned over here, but mostly it's going to be one of Beal or Graham, either together or with Bogdanovich, followed by Huerter, followed by there's one guy I'm going to play who's low owned, and I'll take a shot on Jordan Clarkson at 3.8.
Oh, we did talk about that a little. Yeah, that's explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Jordan Clarkson, there's a chance that we don't know, we haven't heard this, but who knows if they sit Conley on the back-to-back or at least limit him. Jordan Clarkson also, just on top of it, is already getting up. He's got 11 or more shots in 3 of the last 4 games. Had 14 shots the last game. That was a little bit a homecoming narrative thing that he probably played a few more extra minutes because of it. But I think in this spot against Denver, they could use his scoring potentially, especially if you have what's his name out. The thing is, I'd like to get Donovan Mitchell in here into the conversation. I really like him, but I just feel like if you're going, maybe I would pick Mitchell over Russell. I do like Mitchell in this kind of a game. It's a tough matchup, but they're gonna I like these Utah guys when they're gonna need them. This is a really good real life game, and I think this is a good spot maybe to get Mitchell at lower ownership than what he should be.
Yeah, I'm kind of into the Jordan Clarkson idea, and the other thing I would mention is likewise with Russell. Again, I would play Russell probably with Kemba, and that also gets you off of. And as a matter of fact, what I probably end up doing in that case is probably fade both these shooting guards. You know what I mean? And that is certainly a way to get different. But you don't play either Beal or Graham. It is kind of a similar type of play to fade them both, as opposed to playing them both, if you think about it. So that's one thing you can. If you play Russell and Kemba, for example, then it leads you into a different rabbit hole.
Or Russell and Hayward, because Hayward is cheaper over here, or Russell and Jalen, who's also cheaper over here.
Right.
But
so that's I agree with pretty much everything you said. And how good of a play is Bogdan today? I mean, like, because yesterday he was just a ridiculously amazing play and nobody played him. So today he's obviously not as good of a play because there's a lot of other options, but still 4,300 playing 30 minutes, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm totally into it. I'm completely on board with playing Bogdan tonight, but I just think that there are really good options you'd have to avoid.
Yep. All right, so small forward. Again, same story as before. I kind of have a standout here. I really think Tobias Harris here is. I don't like to use the word lock or whatever, but he's my favorite small forward, just kind of by a lot.
Yeah.
And he would be the first guy I put in, and probably the last guy I take out of my lineups, with the exception of maybe if I have to lock in Ibaka, or we'll talk about Bryant later. But he'd be the last guy I'd want to take out if you want to know the truth. So he'd be my favorite by a decent margin. I'm sure he's going to be higher on than they're saying he's going to be, but even so, I just really love him in the spot. I think he's a great play. And then after that, it's again, you choose between Brown and Hayward. They both look like really, really good plays. I'll flip a coin, or take your advice, whatever. Maybe one Jaylen Brown, one Gordon Hayward, and then the only other two guys in the position I really considered is Troy Brown Jr. And he fits well, with the Washington Charlotte stack. Or the guy I really don't want to play. He's in my lineup right now, but Barton is pretty cheap also over here. So. I put him in for now. I'm probably not going to end up playing him, just because these other guys kind of correlate a little better with some of the other players.
Yeah, I actually do like Barton better than I like Hayward and Brown.
Okay.
But I did want to mention Hayward and Brown because they're reasonable over here. They're not where I'm going. I'm mostly on Tobias Harris, and then I have to get creative because I've mostly talked about a lot of chalkier plays. Mm-hmm. So I'm going back to my boy Miles Bridges at 4,700, who's going to have zero ownership, and he'll have like 5% maybe. I think he's a really, really good low-owned play in a perfect game environment. The minutes should be back. You had the fluky situation with both the blowout and the game in France, which cost him his minutes. I'm willing to overlook those, and the blowout against Portland. When he plays, when he plays a normal game, it's a 20 to 35, maybe even 40 if you're running right. And his price is right enough, and this is literally a matchup where he could hit a ceiling type of game, and I like him as a pivot off of some of these other guys, because I would mention another guy who's going to have a little more ownership. Harrison Barnes is 4,300. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I get it. It's kind of getting silly. And Bojan Bogdanovic at 5,500 should get overlooked by some of these other guys, and I like him just because the price is right. But I think if you're playing the way off the board, I have to do something. It's Bridges or Joe Ingles for me.
All right, I'm in.
Joe Ingles following the same rule that we were talking about a little bit with Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah. So and again, like I said, the Bridges thing fits because you want to play Beal, and you could play Graham too, and then
Yeah.
And it all works. You know what I mean? Like if you want to attack the Philly Atlanta game, you totally can. If you want to attack the Charlotte Washington game, you totally can. And you don't have to go chalk city. Although I have to say, you probably do have to go a little chalk city in the Atlanta game. Where the Charlotte game, you can go a little bit. You go a little cuckoo, not cuckoo. You could do some different things with that.
Right.
All right. I guess we could just move on. Power forward, Sir. So. All right. What I'm looking at right now, there are actually two plays which I find to be similarly tough to fade, and one might be a little not who you think. I don't know. So the first guy is Serge Ibaka. He's going to be incredibly popular. He's going to project really well. With Marcus Gasol out, he's just mispriced at 5,600, and And, you know, with the exception of the blowout risk or whatever, it's a very logical play. It's a very good play. And, you know, it'd probably be very difficult for me to keep out of my first, you know, X amount of lineups, whatever X is for you, you know. And the other guy, he's not in line. I mean, I have Collins in it right now, but he's not the guy I'm thinking about. The other guy I always end up liking more than I think I should, but he always ends up getting there is Daniel Tice at power forward at 5,200. I know Tatum's playing still, but again, but the guy still keeps getting the minutes. He projects pretty well. He's only 5,200. I don't know if I'm going to need him to. I don't know what else I'm paying up for really, but I guess I could use him. So I just want to say that I do think Tice is a really, really good play. I don't know where ownership is coming in on him, but I like Serge and I like Tice. And then my next guy is Collins. And this is really my player pool as far as the power forward position goes. Maybe you could talk me to PJ Washington or somebody cooler than this, but these are the guys that I have.
Yeah, I think that would be a little chalkier than where I want to go. So I'm into Ibaka. I get that one. I'm going to favor him over Tice. I'm a little worried about Tice, so I have to go for a little bit of a different type of build. So maybe spending up on all the backcourt positions, and then we have my weird little pivot at small forward with Bridges. I'm going to pair that up with something like either Spellman. I know this sounds funny. Spellman, Washington, Royce O'Neal actually are the guys I'm looking at. Partly the Spellman and O'Neal Spellman is the pure speculation, and there's potential upside for him at 3,600. It differentiates your build. He's going to be unowned. I can go for a lot of reasons why game theory wise he makes sense if no other value opens up. But Royce O'Neal, you're just playing the minutes game, and that hopefully that's the night he hits a few shots. He's going to play minutes. Maybe he gets some extra ones if Conley does end up sitting. I'm struggling with it a little bit to go which way, but I do know that I need to differentiate in one of my spots over here. So I'm trying to go with one of these lower owned guys. And maybe, you know, maybe if you want to try a different, like I get the John Collins thing. I think he's going to be really popular actually over here. I think so. I mean, I'm not, I think he'd be what would he be? Probably the third or fourth highest owned.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would much prefer to play like a cheaper, lower honed Kevin Love. I think it's an interesting tournaments pivot. I'm not playing any Kawhi tonight. The big decisions I've made are I'm not playing Kawhi. I'm not playing De'Aaron Fox. I don't know where the ownership really will end up on them, but I know for sure as of right now, I don't see myself playing either of those guys. And I'm definitely not playing Jason Tatum.
Do you want to play a crazy one from a couple of days ago we thought about playing? I'm just staring at him on the board here. What about Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah, I thought about him. I don't like the way that he suits into this matchup because he can attack a little bit the lane, and his you'd like to see a bigger minutes upside like we had for a couple games, which would probably contain some sort of a blowout, and this is probably not it to get to his ceiling. So I'm not as into it. But I certainly understand like taking that shot. I think it's interesting. I actually think the projections have him a little lower owned than he's going to end up being, but still good play.
That's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of looking at the ownerships right now, just trying to find these and just talk about and see if any of these really low owned guys are viable. And then just remember that they might not end up being low owned. So you have to stretch to make them viable, and then they end up being popular, like Dante Exum, for example. It's kind of a dangerous process.
To be honest, maybe Davis Bertans is actually an interesting pivot over here if you want to get that game stack going, because I don't see him getting a ton of ownership. He's only 5.6K over here. I know we're not going to count on him to do what he did last time, but he put him 50 last time in Charlotte. And when he, I don't know. They said this is in Washington, but he put 50 against these guys. I'm not, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, I'm not saying he's going to make 8 of 12 threes again, but at 5,600, there's upside to try and get, different and keep stacking that game.
Okay. So as we go to center, I am pretty clear what I'm going to do in my different options. And one is going to be it's going to be familiar to what I commented on yesterday, attacking the Pirtle thing, right? So Thomas Bryant at 4,400 is going to project to be a really, really good play. They're going to You know, he played 32 minutes last night. People are going to either presume or hope, or at least assign a probability that he plays 32 minutes tonight. And at 4,400, yeah, if he gets 32 minutes, you just kind of want to have him. So there's 2 ways to go. Number one, actually, I would say 4 ways to go. One is to eat the chalk, play Thomas Bryant at 35% owned or whatever he's going to be, and that's fine, okay? The other way to go is to pay all the way up, and if you all the way up, you pay up, and if you pay up, there are 3 choices. You could either play Embiid or Jokic, or you could play the 0% owned Gobert, which I think I tried the other night also, the exact same thing. Like there was a good pay up option. I think it was Drummond and somebody else, and I ended up going with Gobert. It didn't exactly work out, but I kind of like the idea because that's what people are going to do. They're going to either go to Bryant or they're going to pay up for Embiid or maybe Jokic. And I think that one way to differentiate is to go pay up for someone like Gobert. And the other kind of like ridiculous ways to play, the exact ridiculous ways we considered yesterday that you pounced on with DraftKings, and I didn't do as much of on Fanduel as I wanted because I didn't play as many lineups as I wanted. I played as many lineups as I wanted. Was just do almost a half direct pivot. You could play freaking Marquise Chris at 4,800 if you want at 10% ownership, pretty much same price as Thomas Bryant, or the other psycho one, another direct pivot, go right in the same game to Cody Zeller at 4,400.
I don't think it's a psycho pivot. That's like the logical one. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't even think it's off the board.
Okay.
I like that play actually. I like the Cody Zeller idea over here a lot better. I like the Marquise Chris idea over here a lot better, where he's going to have lower ownership.
Yep.
So I think there are definitely pivots away from Bryant, and those minutes may be more fluid than we know for Bryant. I don't think I'm gonna end up with Gobert, but I like the game theory thinking that you're talking about. I just don't think I'm gonna end up doing that.
Yep.
I think that also if I was gonna I would be probably more inclined to play Dwayne Dedmon over here if I was, you know what I mean? Like you're getting no ownership on these guys, and really if they just outscore Bryant alone because you're playing that price tier, and then the rest of your guys do their thing, you're differentiated and you're crushing.
Is it possible that Dedmon doesn't play? I mean, I guess he has to, right?
Why would he?
No, when I mean don't play, I mean don't play that many minutes at all.
Oh, that's possible. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's not like a safe play, but it's a play that you can differentiate yourself by doing it. I'm not loving these Tristan Thompson minutes, but it is getting to the point at 5K where maybe like once he gets in the 4s, we should start considering him or something.
And why hasn't he been playing? It's because Nance has been taking his minutes, or he's just been playing bad?
Nance has been playing the minutes mostly.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not mostly, but just he's been playing more than he used to.
So like the FanDuel build, it's the same as usual in that, you know, what you decide at one position kind of impacts the way you're going to attack the others, both from a salary and an ownership situation. So if you're gonna pivot away from, if you're gonna play Bryant, then you get to spend money elsewhere, but make sure that you don't spend money on the chalk, you know? and like a decent amount of this lineup does, for example, with the exception of Miles Bridges, right? So and the other, well, this one also doesn't play Simmons. It might not be the worst for a single entry build, which is what this term is I'm in right now. This is not the worst, most popular lineup there is.
No,
because of Bridges as well. But
no, Bridges and Monty Morris, that's a sweet one, and
okay.
and you know what, you could do a lot of different things with this lineup and make it.
Well, this still has 1,500 left on the table, so I haven't really finished with this one yet. But and then likewise, and if you do decide to kind of pay up for center, then you have to just pay. Then you don't get to play both Young and Beal, or both Simmons and Beal, or both. You know what I mean? So then you might have to. I don't say eat the Tice chalk, but you could then play kind of a cheaper power forward, like what some of the guys that we talked about. You could play, depending on how chalky the rest of your lineup is, you could take a shot with like Jordan Clarkson, like you were saying. You know what I mean? Like there's a decent amount of kind of high upside. I'd say dart throws in the wrong way. You know what I mean? There's a decent amount of high upside plays that exist on this slate, and as we've seen, I mean, you only need a couple. You know, you don't have to say, boy, oh boy, Ibaka's so chalky, Bryant's so chalky, I'm going to fade both Ibaka and Bryant. I'm going to fade freaking Bradley Beal, and I'm just going to go completely nutso. You don't have to do that.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what? I think that you could even find certain builds lead you to like leaving 400 or 500 on the table on FanDuel. Just because there's weird like little gap spots that I'm noticing. I think it's okay today, like more than usual. Usually I always like to be like within 300 or 400. I think you maybe go a little bit higher on FanDuel depending on what kind of build you like today.
What other there's some of these point guards. Yeah, I don't like any of this crap. Like this Ish Smiths.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think it's going down then to Garland or Morris. I really do.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually think that if you, I mean, and then you play obviously whoever you want at center, but if you play like a Garland Morris lineup and you get 60 between those guys, which is completely possible, and then you decide to overspend everywhere else and do weird things, like there's just different ways you can go about building on FanDuel that I think are kind of interesting today. I'm not going to be a lot of places where I can make a ton of late swaps, so I'm probably just going to play my big lineups. And I gave you a pretty good idea of what I'm doing, differentiating a few spots. Doing a few 1v1 interesting things. 2v2 interesting swaps. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually in the same boat. I'm not going to be able to do any the live thing. I'm actually going to be out. So what that means also from my construction is I'm going to not play that many lineups in case news comes out. I'll be able to kind of adapt from where I am.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, good luck to everybody out there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Give us the like, the subscribe. We appreciate it. And we'll keep pumping the content out. We're not going to be doing a live stream today, but I will be doing one the rest of this week, including for the Super Bowl. Whether Sheets can join me or not, I'm still going to be doing it. So, guys, we appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Good luck. We'll see you top of the leaderboards.
See you guys later.